Listen, I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. We, the Krell Collective, are not idiots. We have conquered 47 star systems. We have technology that can read the electromagnetic signature of a sentient being's emotional state from 3 kilometers away. We can tell if you are angry, afraid, aroused, or absolutely bored out of your mind. Our emotion sensors are, or rather were, the most sophisticated surveillance technology in 3 galaxies. Notice I said were. My name is Queeks. I am, or was, a sensor technician 3rd class aboard the enforcement vessel Relentless Truth. That is not a metaphor, by the way. That is actually what we named our ship. The Krell are very literal. We do not do irony. Or at least we did not, until we met them. Oh, the humans. Oh, you want to laugh? Go ahead, I will wait. Are you done? Good, because this is not funny. Well, okay, parts of it are funny, but mostly it is terrifying and confusing. And it made me question every single thing I thought I knew about biology, psychology, and the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning, 3 cycles ago, when we first entered the Sol system. The humans had just achieved faster-than-light travel. Adorable, right? Like watching a larva sprout its first wings. The Galactic Council had flagged them as a species of interest, which meant we needed to establish monitoring protocols before they started poking their noses into other people's business. Standard procedure. We had done this hundreds of times. We parked our fleet in orbit around their 4th planet, the red one they call Mars. We deployed our sensor grid, and we started watching. Every human settlement, every ship, every station. We could read them like open books, or so we thought. The sensor arrays we use are beautiful pieces of technology, if you care about that sort of thing. Which I do. Did. I am not sure anymore. They measure microfluctuations in bioelectric fields, correlate them with thermal signatures, cross-reference with historical emotional baselines. When a human feels fear, their amygdala fires in a specific pattern. We can see it. When they feel love, oxytocin floods their system. We can measure it. Joy, anger, disgust, surprise, anticipation, trust, sadness, all of it. Every single emotion mapped out in real time, color-coded for our convenience. It was perfect. For about 6 weeks. Then things started getting weird. The first incident happened at one of their deep space mining stations. Station Theta 9, they called it. Nothing special. 47 humans, standard extraction operation, pulling rare minerals from an asteroid belt. We were monitoring them because, well, we monitored everyone. That was the job. I was on duty when the anomaly appeared. One of the miners, a female named Iris Kowalski, showed up on my screen with readings that made absolutely no sense. According to her bioelectric signature, she was experiencing extreme terror. I am talking primal, run for your life, about to die levels of fear. But here is the thing. She was sitting in the station cafeteria, eating soup. I called over my supervisor, a senior technician named Vreel. He looked at my screen, looked at me, then looked back at the screen. Calibration error, he said. Reset the array. I reset the array. The readings did not change. Iris Kowalski was still radiating pure fear while calmly consuming her soup. She even laughed at something another miner said. Laughed, while apparently being scared out of her mind. Hardware malfunction, Vreel decided. Flagged the sensor. We will replace it during the next maintenance cycle. Fine. Except the next day it happened again. Different human. Different station. This time it was a cargo hauler pilot named Devon Okafor. According to his emotional signature, he was experiencing overwhelming grief. The kind of profound sadness that comes from losing someone you love. He was whistling, actually whistling a cheerful tune, while his readings showed he should have been curled up in a ball, weeping. By the end of the week, we had 17 flagged sensors, all showing impossible readings. humans displaying emotional states that had nothing to do with their actual behavior. The command staff started paying attention. They brought in specialists. Engineers checked every sensor twice. Programmers combed through the code looking for bugs. Biologists reviewed the human emotional baselines we had established. Nobody found anything wrong. The equipment was functioning perfectly, which meant the problem was not the equipment. Commander Thask, who ran our monitoring operation, called a briefing. I had never been invited to a command briefing before. I was equal parts excited and terrified. Mostly terrified, if I am being honest. The briefing room was full. Every department head, every senior technician, every analyst who had flagged an anomaly. Thask stood at the front, her carapace plates flared in agitation. "We have a situation," she said. "No preamble, no pleasantries, straight to the point. Our emotion monitoring system, which has worked flawlessly for 300 cycles across dozens of species, is failing, but only with humans, only in this system. I want theories. Now." Silence. "Yeah." Then, one of the biologists raised a manipulator limb. Her name was Zan, and she always looked nervous. Which makes sense because she was about to suggest something that would change everything. "What if," she said slowly, "they are doing it on purpose?" The room erupted. Half the people present started talking at once. The other half just stared at Zan like she had grown a second head. "Impossible," someone shouted. "You cannot fake bioelectric signatures. It is not physiologically possible." "We have tested this on every known sentient species," another voice added. "Nobody can consciously control their emotional output. It is involuntary. Automatic. Like breathing." Ask held up a manipulator for silence. "Explain," she said to Zan. Zan pulled up a holographic display. It showed a human brain, rotating slowly. "Humans have exceptionally large prefrontal cortices relative to their body size," she said. "Much larger than any other species we have monitored. This region is responsible for executive function, decision-making, and, critically, emotional regulation. What if they can use it to override their automatic emotional responses?" "That is called emotional suppression," Vreel interrupted. "Plenty of species do it, but we can still read their underlying emotional state. The fear is still there, they just do not act on it." "Yes," Zan agreed, "but what if humans can do more than suppress? What if they can completely replace one emotional state with another? Create a false signal that our sensors pick up instead of the real one? More silence. More silence." Then Thask asked the question that was on everyone's mind. "Why would they do that?" "Because," Zan said quietly, "they know we are watching." "Oh. Oh no. No. You have to understand, the whole point of our monitoring system is that it is passive. We do not interact with the species we observe. We just watch. They are not supposed to know we are there. We use stealth technology, cloaked ships, sensors that operate on frequencies most species cannot detect. Except, apparently, humans could detect them. Or at least, they suspected something was watching them. And they were messing with us." Thask ordered an immediate investigation. We started reviewing weeks of footage, looking for patterns. What we found was both fascinating and deeply disturbing. The emotional anomalies were not random. They were targeted. Specific humans in specific situations showing impossible emotional states. And when we cross-referenced the data with human communication logs, which we were absolutely monitoring because of course we were, we found something interesting. The humans were talking about us, not directly. They did not know who we were or where we were, but they knew someone was out there. They called it the Watcher hypothesis. Some of their scientists had noticed statistical anomalies in their deep space telemetry, background radiation patterns that did not make sense, sensor ghosts that appeared and disappeared. They knew. And once they knew or suspected, they started testing. One of their psychologists, A woman named Dr. Yuki Tanaka had published a paper about it. I read the whole thing. It was titled Potential Counter-Surveillance Techniques for Hypothetical External Observers Utilizing Emotional Biometric Monitoring. That is a very long title for what basically amounted to how to lie to aliens who might be reading our feelings. Her theory was elegant, I had to admit. If an advanced species was monitoring humanity, they would almost certainly use biometric surveillance. And the most useful biometric for predicting behavior is emotional state. So if humans wanted privacy, or wanted to deceive their observers, they needed to learn how to fake their emotional signatures. She had developed a training program, meditation techniques combined with biofeedback, neurolinguistic programming, and what she called method acting for your nervous system. Participants would practice generating specific emotional states while thinking about something completely different. Feel joy while contemplating sadness. Radiate calm while your mind screamed in panic. It sounded impossible. But apparently for humans it was not. We started seeing more and more of them doing it. Not everyone. Maybe 1 in 50 humans had the training and the talent. But that was enough. Enough to completely undermine our surveillance network. I remember the moment I truly understood the implications. I was monitoring a human diplomatic vessel heading to one of the outer colonies. Standard mission, standard crew. The captain was a man named Tobias Reeves. Mid-40s, calm demeanor, excellent service record. According to my sensors, he was absolutely furious. Rage levels off the charts. The kind of anger that precedes violence. He was negotiating a trade agreement. Successfully. His emotional signature said he wanted to tear someone's head off. His actual behavior was perfectly diplomatic. Friendly even. He smiled. He made jokes. He compromised on 3 separate points. And the whole time my sensors screamed that he was 1 second away from committing murder. I watched him for hours, trying to find the disconnect, trying to understand. Then, near the end of his shift, when he was alone in his quarters, something changed. His emotional signature shifted. The false rage disappeared. And what replaced it was something I had never seen before. Smugness. Nugness. Sure, undiluted satisfaction. He looked directly at the wall. Not at anything in particular, just at the wall. And he smiled. Then he spoke. "How do you like that, you voyeuristic bastards?" He knew. He knew exactly where our sensors were. He had spent 8 hours radiating false anger just to mess with whoever was watching him. I filed a report. Thask read it. Then she called another briefing. This one was different. Smaller. Just the senior staff and a few specialists. I was included because I had the most documented interactions with human emotional deception. "We have a problem," Thask said. Again with that phrase. It was becoming her catchphrase. The humans are not just aware of our monitoring. They are actively sabotaging it. And if they can fool our emotion sensors, what else can they fool? Nobody had an answer. "We need to adjust our approach," she continued. "Recommendations?" Vreel spoke up. "Increase surveillance. Deploy more sensors. Cross-reference multiple data streams to identify discrepancies." "They will just get better at fooling us," I said. Everyone looked at me. I probably should have kept my mouth shut, but I was young and stupid. The more we watch, the more feedback they get. They are learning how our sensors work by watching their own readings change. We are training them. Task's eyes narrowed. "So what do you suggest, technician?" "Stop watching," I said. "Or at least, stop relying on the sensors. Use direct observation instead. Cameras, audio, actual behavior analysis." "That is primitive," someone scoffed. "We abandoned those methods centuries ago. Too unreliable. Too easy to fake." "Emotions are supposed to be impossible to fake," I countered. "But here we are." Thask considered this. Implement both, she finally decided. Enhanced sensor coverage and increased visual monitoring. If they are lying to one system, maybe the other will catch them. Spoiler alert, it did not work. Because humans, as it turns out, are really, really good at lying. Not just emotional lying. All lying. We started catching them in contradictions. Visual logs showing one thing, audio logs showing another, emotional sensors showing a third thing entirely. It was like trying to track smoke, and they were doing it on purpose. They had figured out our monitoring protocols. They knew where our cameras were, where our audio pickups were, where our sensors were strongest. And they used that knowledge to create false narratives. One mining crew staged an entire fake emergency. Alarms, panic, people running around. The visual logs showed chaos. The audio logs captured screaming. But the emotional sensors? Dead calm. Every single person on that station was radiating contentment and mild amusement. They were testing us, seeing what we would respond to. We did not respond, of course. That would have revealed our presence. So we just watched while they put on their little show. Afterward, they gathered in the cafeteria and laughed about it. One of them, a young engineer named Kai Rosenberg, said something that I will never forget. "You think they bought it?" he asked. "Who cares?" Someone else replied. "Either they are watching and they know we are onto them, or they are not watching and this was just really fun." They were having fun. We were having a crisis. Commander Thask requisitioned additional resources, more ships, more personnel, more equipment. The Galactic Council approved it, because humans had become classified as a Tier 2 concern. Which sounds serious, and it was. A Tier 2 concern meant that the species in question exhibited unpredictable behavior that could potentially threaten galactic stability. We had upgraded them from adorable primitives to possible threat in less than 3 months. The Council sent observers, delegates from other species who wanted to see these strange humans for themselves. We hosted them in our briefing rooms, showed them our data, explained our findings. Most of them did not believe us. "Impossible," a Vornathi delegate declared. "Conscious control of involuntary biological processes is a myth. Your equipment must be malfunctioning." So we showed them. Live feed. Real-time monitoring of a human settlement. We watched a teacher named Elena Vasquez work with a classroom of young humans. She was teaching them mathematics, which is apparently quite boring for human children. The visual logs showed them fidgeting, staring out windows, clearly uninterested. Their emotional signatures? Absolute fascination. Every single child was radiating intense curiosity and engagement. They were faking it. Even the children. Elena knew the sensors were there. She had taught her students how to project false emotions. They were practicing. The Vornathi delegate went very quiet. "This is not possible," he said again. But this time he sounded uncertain. "And yet," Thask replied, "here we are." We kept watching. We kept collecting data. We kept trying to find patterns, to predict what the humans would do next. But they were always one step ahead. They started encrypting their communications. Not just military channels. Everything. Personal messages, shopping lists, children's homework. All encrypted. They developed new shielding technologies that interfered with our sensors. Subtle interference. Just enough to create noise in the data. They even started building decoy settlements. Empty stations that looked occupied from our sensor perspective, complete with fake emotional signatures generated by some kind of broadcast system. It was brilliant. It was infuriating. And it was spreading. Other human colonies started adopting the same techniques. The emotional deception training became standard in their education systems. By the end of the second month, half the human population was doing it. We were losing the intelligence war. And we had not even made contact yet. Thask called me into her office privately. "It's just the two of us." "Cree," she said, "I need your honest assessment. Can we monitor these creatures effectively?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I finally said. "Not with our current methods. They have adapted too quickly. Every time we change our approach, they figure it out and counter it. They are learning faster than we are. She nodded slowly. The Council is considering making contact. Official first contact. Revealing our presence and establishing diplomatic relations. Why? I asked. We usually observe for decades before making contact. Because, she said, we cannot observe effectively anymore. And if we cannot observe, we cannot predict. And if we cannot predict, they are dangerous. That made sense. Terrifying sense. When? I asked. Soon, she said. Very soon. But first, I need you to do something for me. I need you to find one human. Just one. Someone who is not lying. Someone whose emotions are genuine. Someone we can read accurately. Can you do that? I nodded. I can try. So I did. I spent the next week analyzing every human in range of our sensors, thousands of them, looking for one person whose emotional signature matched their behavior, one person who was not playing games with us. It was harder than you would think. Finally, I found her, a teenager named Mira Chen, 17 years old, living on a small colony station near Jupiter. Her emotional readings were completely genuine, fear when something scared her, joy when something made her happy, sadness when she was sad. She was real. I flagged her profile and sent it to Thask. Why her? Thask asked when we reviewed it together. She has not been trained, I explained. She is too young. The emotional deception program only started recently. She has not learned how to lie yet. Perfect, Thask said. She will be our test case. We will observe her closely. Use her as a baseline to recalibrate our understanding of human emotional responses. If we can read one human accurately, we can maybe figure out how to read the others. I should have felt good about this. I had completed my assignment, found the one genuine human, but something bothered me. It took me another day to figure out what. Mira Chen was not lying to us because she had not been trained yet, but she would be. Eventually, someone would teach her. And then we would lose her, too. We could not win this. Not in the long term. The humans were too adaptable, too clever, too damn good at deception, and that scared me more than anything else. Because if they could lie about their emotions this effectively, what else could they lie about? What else were they hiding? So there I was monitoring Mira Chen like she was the last honest person in the universe, which, from our perspective, she basically was. She lived a normal teenage human life. It attended school, argued with her parents, spent too much time on their information networks talking to friends. Everything she felt matched what she did. It was refreshing, honestly, like finding a clear stream after drinking muddy water for months. I watched her for 3 days. On the 4th day, everything went sideways. I was running my usual scans when I noticed something odd. Mira's emotional signature changed. Suddenly. Dramatically. She went from contentment to absolute terror in less than 2 seconds. Real terror. Not the fake kind I had gotten used to seeing. I checked the visual feed immediately. She was in her quarters. Alone. Staring at her communication device, her face had gone pale. Something was wrong. I pulled up her recent communications log. But the Krell Collective does not believe in privacy when it comes to monitoring potentially dangerous species. Sorry, not sorry. She had received a message. Text only. It read, "They are watching you right now. Everything you feel, they can see. Come to the station observation deck in 10 minutes. Come alone. We will teach you how to hide." My blood went cold. Well, my equivalent of blood. The Krell do not actually have blood, but you understand the metaphor. Someone was recruiting her. Someone knew we were watching specifically her. I immediately flagged this for Thask. She appeared at my station within minutes. "Show me," she demanded. I showed her everything. The message. Mira's reaction. The genuine fear that was now shifting to confusion and curiosity. "Who sent it?" Thask asked. Anonymous routing, I replied. Bounced through 17 relay stations. Could be anyone. We watched as Mira made her decision. She got up. She left her quarters. She headed toward the observation deck. Do we intervene? I asked. No, Thask said. We watch. We learn who is organizing this. So we watched. Mira arrived at the observation deck exactly 10 minutes later. It was empty except for one person, a woman in her 30s. Tall, dark hair. She smiled when Mira entered. Hello, Mira, the woman said. My name is Dr. Yuki Tanaka. Of course it was. The same psychologist who had written that paper. The one who had started this whole mess. How did you know they are watching me? Mira asked. Her voice shook. Because you are the only person on this station who is not hiding from them, Tanaka replied. Your emotional signature is clean, pure. That makes you valuable to them. They will study you to understand us better. Who are they? Mira whispered. We do not know exactly, Tanaka said. But we know they are out there, watching, measuring, judging, and we need to protect ourselves. Mira looked out the observation window, into space. She could not see our ships, of course. We were cloaked, but she knew we were there. What do you want from me? She asked. I want to teach you how to be invisible, Tanaka said. Not physically, emotionally. I want to teach you how to feel one thing and broadcast another. How to keep your true self private even when they are watching. Is that not lying? Mira asked. It is privacy, Tanaka corrected. Every sentient being deserves the right to keep their inner life to themselves. These watchers, whoever they are, they have taken that right away. We are taking it back. I glanced at Thask. Her expression was unreadable. They are treating us like invaders, she said quietly. Are we not? I asked. She did not answer. We watched as Tanaka began teaching Mira the basics. Breathing exercises, visualization techniques, ways to generate false emotional signatures. Think of something that makes you happy, Tanaka instructed. Really happy. A perfect memory. Mira closed her eyes. Her emotional signature shifted. Joy. Pure, radiant joy. Good, Tanaka said. Now, while holding that feeling, I want you to think about something sad. The worst day of your life. But do not let the joy signature fade. Keep broadcasting happiness while you feel sadness inside. Mira tried. I could see it on the sensors. The joy signature flickered, dimmed. Then disappeared, replaced by genuine sadness. It is okay, Tanaka said. Nobody gets it on the first try. Well, almost nobody. Let us try again. They practiced for an hour. Mira never succeeded. But the fact that she tried, that she wanted to hide from us, that hurt more than I expected. After Tanaka left, Mira stayed on the observation deck, alone, looking out at the stars. Her emotional signature was complicated. Fear, anger, confusion, determination, all mixed together. Then she did something that caught me completely off guard. She spoke, out loud. To empty space. I know you are listening, she said. I do not know who you are. I do not know why you are watching us. But I want you to know something. We are not animals in a zoo. We are people. And people deserve privacy. People deserve dignity. So maybe, just maybe, you should ask before you invade someone's life. Then she left. I sat there, staring at my screens, feeling something I had never felt before while doing this job. Shame. I filed my report. Thask read it. Then she did something unprecedented. She called a meeting with the Galactic Council. I was not invited to that meeting. Too low-ranking. But I heard about it afterward. Apparently it did not go well. Thask argued that we should make contact with humanity immediately. Reveal ourselves. Explain our presence, establish proper diplomatic relations. The council disagreed. Humans were too unpredictable, they said. Too good at deception. We needed more data, more observation time. Task pushed back. She explained that our observation was making things worse. The humans knew we were there. They were adapting. Soon, we would not be able to monitor them at all. The council did not care. Find a way to monitor them effectively, they ordered. That is your mission. Complete it. So Thask returned to the relentless truth. She gathered her senior staff, and she told us we had two options. Option 1, develop new monitoring technology that humans could not fool. Option 2, give up. Nobody wanted to choose option 2. So we chose option 1. The engineering teams went into overdrive. They developed quantum entanglement sensors that monitored emotional states at the subatomic level. Theoretically unfakeable. We deployed them. The humans fooled them within a week. We tried genetic markers, analyzing human DNA for emotional predispositions. The humans started using gene therapy to randomize their markers. We attempted predictive algorithms or machine learning systems that could identify deception patterns. The humans fed false data into their own networks, poisoning our learning models. Every single thing we tried, they countered. It was like fighting a shadow. And then something changed. We started noticing unusual activity in the human military channels, encrypted obviously. But the activity patterns suggested something big was happening. Ships moving into formation, resources being redirected, personnel being reassigned. They were preparing for something. War? Vreel suggested during one of our briefings. With whom? Someone asked. They have not made contact with any other species. We are the only ones here. With us, I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. They know we are here, I continued. They know we are watching them. They have been preparing for this moment since they figured it out. What if all the emotional deception, all the counter-surveillance, what if it was never about privacy? What if it was about preparing for war? Thask leaned forward. Explain. Think about it, I said. They cannot see us. They do not know how many ships we have, what weapons we carry, what our capabilities are. But they know we can read their emotions. So they learn to lie. They learn to hide. And now, they are ready to fight an enemy they cannot see because they know we cannot predict them anymore. The room went silent. That is a terrifying level of strategic thinking. Someone finally said, "That is humans," I replied. Thask stood up. I am making contact, with or without council approval. We cannot let this escalate into an armed conflict. The council will have you removed from command, Vreel warned. Probably, Thask agreed. But I will not start a war out of bureaucratic stubbornness. She drafted a first contact message. Simple. Direct. In the dominant human language they called English. People of Earth. We are the Krell Collective. We have been observing your species as part of our standard protocols for emerging spacefaring civilizations. We mean you no harm. We wish to establish peaceful diplomatic relations. Please respond. She broadcasted on all frequencies. Then we waited. The response came 6 hours later, but not from the human government, not from their military command, not from any official source, from Dr. Yuki Tanaka. Her message was also simple, also direct. Krell Collective. We received your message. We appreciate the introduction. However, we have some questions before we agree to diplomatic relations. First question, how long have you been watching us? Second question, why did you not ask permission? Third question, what else have you been doing that we should know about? We await your response. Sincerely, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, representing the Human Privacy Coalition. Human Privacy Coalition. That was new. Apparently, they had formed an entire organization dedicated to protecting themselves from us. Thask responded honestly. She explained our monitoring protocols, the emotion sensors, the timeline, everything. The humans were not happy. They sent a formal complaint to the Galactic Council, accused us of violating their sovereignty, demanded reparations. The Council was furious. At us, not at the humans. Thask was removed from command. I was demoted. Half our monitoring staff was reassigned. But you know what? It was worth it. Because the alternative was war. And after months of watching humans, of seeing how adaptable they were, how clever, how utterly impossible to predict, I knew one thing for certain. We would lose. Maybe not immediately. Maybe not in the first battle. But eventually, inevitably, we would lose. Because humans do not just adapt to challenges, they thrive on them. The formal negotiations took 3 months. Representatives from both sides met on a neutral space station. The humans demanded that all monitoring cease immediately. They wanted our sensor data deleted. They wanted guarantees of privacy. We agreed. What choice did we have? The Galactic Council was not pleased, but they accepted the terms. Humans were granted full sovereignty. No observation, no surveillance, no sneaking around reading their emotions. And in exchange, humans agreed to follow standard galactic protocols for spacefaring species. They would not interfere with other civilizations without permission. They would respect established territorial boundaries. It was a fair deal. But here is the thing nobody talks about. The thing that keeps me awake at night. We never figured out how they did it. How they learned to control something that should be involuntary. How they generated false emotional signatures that fooled our most advanced sensors. How they taught this skill to their children, their civilians, everyone. I asked once, during the negotiations. I was there as a technical consultant, believe it or not. They wanted someone who understood the monitoring systems. I found Dr. Tanaka in one of the station lounges. She was alone, drinking something hot from a ceramic container. "Can I ask you something?" I said. She looked up, smiled. "Of course." "How do you do it?" I asked. The emotional deception. It should not be possible. Every species we have studied, emotions are involuntary, automatic. But you can control yours. How? She took a sip of her drink, considered her answer. "Do you know what acting is?" she finally asked. "Performance art," I replied, "pretending to be someone you are not." "Close," she said. "Good actors do not pretend. They actually feel the emotions of the character they are playing. They use memory, imagination, technique to generate genuine emotional responses. A good actor can make themselves cry real tears by thinking about something sad. They can make themselves laugh by remembering something funny. But that is still feeling real emotions," I said, "not fake ones." "Exactly," she said. "That is the secret. We are not generating fake emotions. We are generating real emotions that have nothing to do with our current situation." When that cargo pilot showed grief while whistling. He was not faking grief. He was really feeling it. He was just thinking about something sad while doing something cheerful. The grief was real. It just was not relevant. I stared at her. "That is horrifying." She laughed. "Why?" "Because it means you can feel 2 things at once," I said. "You can be happy and sad simultaneously, calm and terrified, loving and hateful. That is not how minds are supposed to work." "Maybe not Krell minds," she said gently. "But human minds are different. We have always been able to do this. We just never needed to weaponize it before." "Weaponize," I repeated. "You see it as a weapon. Privacy is always a weapon against surveillance," she said. "You were watching us without permission, reading our most intimate feelings. We had to protect ourselves. So yes, we weaponized our own psychology. We turned our greatest vulnerability into our greatest strength." She finished her drink, stood up. "Can I tell you a secret?" she asked. I nodded. "We are not done," she said. "This emotional control, it is just the beginning. We are learning to control other involuntary responses: pupil dilation, galvanic skin response, heart rate variability, all the little tells that species use to read each other. We are making ourselves unreadable. Completely. Why? I asked. Because the universe is big, she said, and we are small, and we do not know who else is out there. But when we meet them, when we encounter the next species that wants to watch us, study us, measure us, we will be ready. We will be invisible, and they will never see us coming. She smiled. It was a friendly smile, warm, genuine. Her emotional signature read as pure, uncomplicated friendliness. But I did not believe it anymore. I could never believe human emotions again. That was 2 cycles ago. Now I work a desk job at a monitoring station in a quiet sector far from human space. I analyze data from primitive civilizations who have not figured out we are watching yet. It is boring, safe, predictable. I miss the excitement of monitoring humans, but I do not miss the stress, the constant uncertainty, the feeling that every reading, every data point could be a lie. Sometimes I check the news feeds from human space. They are expanding rapidly, making contact with other species, establishing trade routes, building alliances. And everywhere they go, they teach other species their techniques. Emotional deception is spreading across the galaxy. The Krell Collective tried to suppress the information. They classified it as dangerous technology. They forbid member species from learning it. But you cannot suppress information that is based purely on thought, on technique, on practice. But the humans share it freely. They say it is a fundamental right, the right to privacy, the right to keep your inner self hidden. Other species agree. Last month, the Vornathi delegation, the same ones who said emotional control was impossible, formally requested training materials from the human government. 3 weeks ago, the Xanth Concordat began implementing emotional privacy education in their school systems. Yesterday, I read a report that 17 different species have now mastered the basic techniques. The galaxy is changing. And it is all because we tried to watch the humans without asking. I think about Mira Chen sometimes, the teenager who never learned to lie. I checked her file recently. She is 20 years old now, a student at one of their universities, studying xenopsychology. Ironically, her emotional signatures are completely controlled now. She mastered the techniques. Like everyone else, the last genuine human is gone, and I was there when we lost her. People ask me sometimes what it was like, monitoring humanity during those crucial months, what I learned about them. I tell them the truth. Humans are terrifying, not because they are violent, not because they are aggressive, not because they want to conquer or destroy. They are terrifying because they adapt, because they learn, because when you push them, they push back harder, because when you try to watch them, they make themselves invisible, because when you think you understand them, they change the rules. We thought we were studying them, but they were studying us right back, and they learned faster. That is the lesson the Krell Collective learned from humanity. The lesson we paid for with our pride, our reputation, and our most advanced surveillance technology. You cannot observe a species that refuses to be observed. You cannot predict a species that lies to your predictions. You cannot control a species that controls itself better than you ever could. The humans won, not through weapons, not through war, not through force. They won by simply refusing to be readable, by keeping their secrets, or by protecting their privacy, by lying to our censors until we gave up trying to read the truth. And you know what the worst part is? I still do not know how they really feel about us. The diplomatic channels are friendly, cordial, professional. But I have no idea if that is genuine or if it is just another performance. I have no idea if humans like us tolerate us or secretly hate our guts. I will never know. None of us will. That is their victory. That is our defeat. And that is why humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not because of what they can do, but because we will never know what they are actually thinking while they do it. Sleep well, knowing that somewhere out there, humans are planning their next move. And you have absolutely no idea what it is. Neither do I. Neither does anyone. And honestly, that might be exactly how they want it.